All right, parents, here we go again. It's the Ask Dr. Tony episode. This is the Experience Miracles podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, an expert in pediatrics, neurodevelopmental disorders, and drug-free, nervous system-focused healthcare. On this weekly episode, I'll be addressing the top questions on every parent's mind. If there's one thing we love and welcome, it's parents who never stop learning, asking the hard questions, and advocating for your kiddos like none other. So get ready for some real talk, real-life clinical and parenting experience, and real easy to understand answers that will help your family take action and get to that next level of health and healing. You ask, I answer. Let's dive into today's episode. Watching your teenager or young adult child struggle with unexplained dizziness, fatigue, rapid heartbeat, frequent fainting, and near constant anxiety can be terrifying and frustrating. Every time they stand up or shift positions, you hold your breath, wondering if they'll feel faint or need to sit back down. You've probably been told that POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, runs in the family and that genetics are to blame or that they simply don't know what's causing it. But the truth is the main cause or trigger of POTS is nervous system dysfunction and nervous system dysregulation, specifically within the autonomic nervous system and the nerve that helps control or regulate blood flow, blood pressure, and overall balance within the body, the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve dysfunction and something called subluxation is often to blame for this neurological condition that now affects 1 in 100 teens and is far more common in females than males. All right, now let's talk about the real culprit that triggers these episodes, that throws your child's heart rate up and down, that throws their nervous system inside and out, that causes them to not trust where their body is in space. And again, you'll see that this underlying nervous system dysfunction can actually be the thing that's triggering that kind of constant anxiety and just on edge feeling that too many kids, too many adults struggling with POTS, and then honestly, the loved ones around them are feeling all the time. So the real culprit is nervous system dysfunction, really an overstressed, dysregulated nervous system. In today's world, we are living in the most highly stressful, crazy, chaotic, and busy, and super toxic world we've ever seen. And all of this stress, whether it's mental and emotional, or whether it's physical, from an injury to the neck and the shoulders, which is actually very much connected to POTS, whether it's an infection, an immune system challenge that got into the body, triggered inflammation, and started to irritate the vagus nerve, which we're about to talk more about, or honestly, even chemical stress. There's toxins everywhere. And especially one of the theories we have as to why POTS is more common in girls is not only do they struggle more from this physical stress in their neck and shoulders and poor posture, certainly a thing that dudes and boys go through as well, but there is so many chemicals that come into a female's life through skincare products, through makeup, through perfumes. And this is a big thing for, I wish I could just say young adult and teenagers, but we see this happening even with grade schoolers and everything that's going on in today's world where there's chemicals all over the flipping place. And they get into our nervous system and they get in and they cause this dysregulation. So when the nervous system is stressed, it goes into an overactive sympathetic response. That's the rapid heart rate. That's the anxiety. But what about the fainting? What about the collapse? What about the instability that is POTS, right? Well, that's where the posture, that's where the vagus nerve comes into play. So the vagus nerve is our counterbalance. It's the brake pedal to the nervous system. And it is the nerve that leaves from the brainstem, goes down through the neck and through the shoulders, which is why there's such a physical postural component. And then it's in charge of calming the heart rate. The vagus nerve is in charge of calming our breathing rate and our respiration. And we now know that the vagus nerve controls our social, emotional, mental health regulation as well. And finally, we know that the vagus nerve controls inflammation, which is why things can be triggered from an illness initially and kind of get down this POTS road. Or if your child struggles with POTS when they are sick and not feeling well, the symptoms of it get worse. We see that all the time in case histories we take with our POTS kiddos and with our POTS patients. So the vagus nerve is really the key to unlocking, and really what we're talking about is getting into the vagus nerve and stimulating it and helping support the vagal nerve tone, which means basically how charged is that battery, how functional is that nerve, is essential. And there's one final piece to this conversation, and it's very interesting that POTS, the first word in it is postural. The way the medical world looks at this, they don't really look at it from a physical construct, but that's the missing link. What we find again and again is that our patients struggling with POTS have a severe level of what's called almost physical neurobiomechanical tension. The catch-all word chiropractically is what's called subluxation in their neck and shoulders and thorax. So that leads to not only poor posture if you look at them from the side, but it leads to this constant tension and irritation and interference or disruption to vagus nerve function. Because the vagus nerve is literally a wire, if you will, that needs to run from the brain and the brainstem down to the respiration, down to our heart rate. And then the vagus nerve goes to our eyes and it goes to the vestibular system and the inner ear, and it regulates our postural orthostatic up against gravity balance. So the vagus nerve regulates all this stuff, the cardiopulmonary stuff and the physical stuff. So when all of this is happening, too much sympathetic fight or flight and too little parasympathetic vagal nerve tone, that's another word, very close cousin to dysregulation, called dysautonomia. And POTS is perhaps the most common medical condition where they will bring that term dysautonomia to the conversation, but that doesn't mean they know what to do about it. That doesn't mean they know how to address subluxation, dysregulation, dysfunction, and dysautonomia. This is where neurologically focused chiropractic comes in. We know how to get that physical pressure and stress off of the neck, off of the shoulders, and in turn, off of the vagus nerve. We know how to release stuck tension within the sympathetic nervous system, and we know how to stimulate and activate the vagus nerve and restore balance, restore regulation and function to the nervous system. And when we do so, everything starts to make its way back into balance. And when it makes its way back into balance, now your kiddo, now your young teenager or young adult, or yourself if you're watching this and struggling with POTS, now you can handle these movements much better. Now you can handle stress much better. Now you can handle going from sitting or laying down to standing up and vice versa much better, because your vagus nerve and your autonomic nervous system regulates that. Neurologically focused chiropractic makes sure that that system is back online, balanced, and regulated. So that's why your body gets better on its own, because we've addressed the real root cause of POTS and its related challenges. Hey parents, if this episode struck a chord and you want to dive even deeper, just scroll down and click the link in the show notes. We've got some incredible resources waiting right there for you to further explore this topic and get the most amount of action and the most amount of help and support for your family. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. Do you have a question that you would like to submit? Either send it to support@pxdocs.com with the subject Ask Dr. Tony, or head on over to our socials @PXDocs, where you can submit your question in our stories every single week. Every kid counts and every family counts, so let's leave no questions left unanswered. If you loved this episode and you want to help us reach more kids, we would so appreciate if you left a review and a rating on your favorite platform. God bless, be well. We'll see you on the next one.